um, the markets. And then we also have a success story from a company who already entered the company from UK who already entered the Quebec markets and is very successful for many years. So it can be very interesting for you to also listen to the success story. We will have around 45 minutes of presentation, followed by 15 minutes of Q&A. So if you have any question during the webinar, you can just drop them in the chat and we will address them at the end of the webinar. So I will now introduce you to the different speakers we have. So we have 5 speakers today. We have Dace Dimser-Jones, who is a deal maker for the UK government's Global Entrepreneur Program, GEP, advising IP-rich and R&D-intensive life science and technology companies on scaling in the UK and expanding globally. She supports market entry, growth, and connects founders with investors and partners. She's also life sciences sector development lead at Manchester Growth Company, and as a director of innovation investment ventures, she builds innovation pipelines and supports investment-ready businesses. From UK side, we also have Paul Riley. Paul Riley has an MBA and PhD. He is a pharmaceutical and life science consultant at Nexia Limited. He advises companies on UK market access across medicines, devices, diagnostics, digital health and services and supplies, and helps innovators understand how the NHS, MHRA, HTA, and the regional adoption infrastructure actually work in practice. From the Quebec side, we have Georgette. Georges is a senior director of foreign direct investment and at Investment Quebec International. Georges brings over 20 years of experience in the life sciences, pharmaceuticals, and medical equipment sectors. As engineer from Concordia University, he has led international missions and built strategic partnerships while remaining active in Montreal's community initiatives. We also have Catherine Bouchema with us as a partner at Peripharm, a consulting firm specializing in health economics and market access in Canada. Following the completion of a PhD in pharmacoeconomics at the University of Montreal, she joined Peripharm as a partner in 2017 after more than a decade of experience within the company. She also serves as an adjunct professor at the University of Montreal, where she teaches pharmacoeconomics. Most recently, she co-founded a proxy network, an innovative RWE initiative aimed at generating patient-centered evidence to ensure that the patient voice is placed at the core of healthcare decision-making. We then also have Romain Laporte, which will present a success story of Signature Discovery. He is the marketing and global events manager at Signature Discovery, leading strategic marketing initiatives across North America and Europe to support growth in preclinical drug discovery outsourcing. With a PhD in organic chemistry and a background as a senior process chemist and over 10 years of experience in the life sciences and drug discovery industry, he combines scientific expertise with commercial insight to position complex R&D capabilities for biotech and pharmaceutical leaders. So as you see, we have 4 very great speakers today. But before moving on to the presentation, I'll hand it over to Alexandre for a brief introduction of the UK Department for Business and Trade, which is the partner for the webinar today. We organize it together today. Alexandre Vigette-Collins is an investment officer with UK Department for Business and Trade, where he supports Canadian companies in the healthcare and life science sector as they expand and grow into the UK. Alexandre, please.
Thank you, Janine. Good morning or good afternoon to everyone present. Thanks to BIOQuébec for partnering with us on today's session. It's good to see strong interest from Quebec-based life sciences and medtech companies looking at the UK. So as Janine mentioned, I'm Alexandre, Investment Officer with the UK Department for Business and Trade based in Montreal. DBT, as we're also known as, is the UK government department responsible for trade and investment. And my role focuses on working with Canadian companies that are thinking about growth, partnerships, or entering the UK market. I'm part of a broader DBT team in Canada with colleagues in Toronto, Calgary, Vancouver, and at our High Commission in Ottawa. From a Quebec perspective, the work is fairly practical. My job is to help life sciences and medtech companies make sense of how the UK ecosystem actually works, from regional R&D and economic clusters to regulatory and market access considerations, and where they may or may not be a really realistic strategic fit for what they're developing. What that looks like varies by company. For some, it's simply understanding how the UK market differs from Quebec or North America and how it compares to continental Europe. For others, it's more targeted, introductions to the right UK regions, innovation networks, or public sector stakeholders to explore collaboration, piloting, or commercial opportunities. And that's very much the spirit of today's webinar. The aim isn't to promote a single route into the UK, but to give you practical insight into how the UK life sciences and medtech ecosystem is set up, what companies usually need to prepare for, and where the real opportunities and constraints tend to be. I'm looking forward to the discussion, and thanks again, everyone, for joining.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alexandre, for this introduction. So I see that Dace is here. So I'll hand it over to Dace for the UK ecosystem overview. Dace, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I
I'm so sorry I was late. I just had the IT troubles. It's a pleasure to be part of this event, and thank you so much for having me. Just before I start my presentation, I'm praying that my slides are going to show and are going to work. I wanted to say that I have really keen interest to work with Canadian-based life science, medtech, digital health companies, and I'm planning my trip at the end of this year to actually visit you. So if any of you can suggest any good life science, medtech events, please give me a shout. I would be delighted to meet you face to face. And now let's risk it and see if I will be able to share my slides. 1 second. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, at least I can see it.
Oh, great. And I hope, please stop me if it's not moving because I can't see any of you. So my name is Datsa Dimza-Jones, and I actually represent Office for Investment, which is part of Department of Business and Trade. And I support innovative life science, medtech, digital health, biotech, engineering, biology companies to land in the UK. And today I will talk a little bit about very specific government's program that could be really interesting for you to explore. The program is called Global Entrepreneur Program, and through this program, we provide free of charge support for innovative companies, IP-rich and R&D intensive companies. What we really want to identify is high growth companies that would be valuable for UK market. You can come here, you can facilitate your research innovations, you can find your investment partner, you can grow and scale up in the UK. To qualify for the program, there are some inclusion and exclusion criteria. One big plus for this program is if you suddenly think that you want to move to Europe and you want to base yourself in the UK, you will need visa. As part of this program, we sponsor companies and innovators for innovator founder visa for home office. So it's kind of like really good program to explore. If you are successful from our side, you get 12 months free mentorship from the UK government for people like myself. We're called the deal makers, and I have 9 other colleagues on my side, and we represent different sectors. So we have clean tech, green technologies, defense. So sometimes where life sciences overlaps with defense or space, it could be really good opportunity to work with the whole of our team. And when it comes to life sciences, we support companies across more than 30 therapeutic areas. So it doesn't matter if you work in oncology, cardiovascular, renal, surgery, social care, we are here to help you. And to be able to facilitate your growth in the UK from the Department of Business and Trade and Office for Investment perspective, we work really closely with Health Innovation Networks, National Institute for Health and Care Research, and NHS. Why companies, life science companies, usually choose to come to the UK? One of the big elements here is our NHS. Through NHS, you cannot just test and develop your innovations, you can also sell them to NHS. And I know in the UK we talk about that NHS don't have money, but actually if you look at the numbers that last financial year NHS spent around 19 billion pounds on medicines, quite a bit of money on medtech and AI innovations as well. Other really big reason why companies come to the UK is our funding landscape. We are the third country globally for VC investment, but we also have really good funds available through Innovate UK and NIHR for your clinical trials, proof of concept study, and developing your product. Also, we are quite good in terms of time zone and language, and we are very well situated if you want to set up your European presence. So you come, you land in the UK, and you can utilize our departments for business and trade free of charge, help for your export. So we can open global doors for you. Then what else is available in the UK? Something that I have to say, that when companies explore setting up collaborations with the UK, everyone thinks about London, sometimes Oxford and Cambridge, which is really, really nice. But by this map, I wanted to emphasize that there is innovations happening all across the UK. It's not just London that is great, but we have fantastic universities across Manchester, Newcastle, Bristol, Leeds. And specifically, if you are not large scale up, but you are company at your very, very beginning, you are looking at your first development of product or device, I would very strongly actually look for opportunities outside of Golden Triangle, London, Cambridge, and Oxford, because there may be more funding for available and help. And also through UK government, we have something available through called catapults. So we have around 60 catapults nationally, but some that you would be interested would be Medicines Discovery Catapult, Cell and Gene Catapult, and CPI, Center for Process Innovation. These government-funded catapults can be really, really good partner for your next development journey. Also in the UK, I have to say that I'm based in Manchester, so I'm very proud that in Manchester we have something called UK Biobank. And through UK Biobank, there is opportunities to access patient samples, information, data. Obviously, it has to be arranged in the right way and manner, but also UK Biobank can offer you funding opportunities. All my slides are barcoded, and if you scan them, and I'm sure that my colleagues will share them later, there will be links that you can find more information about the funding, right people, how you should really navigate if you want to apply for support for certain organizations. If you are more on the medtech digital health side, your best partner will be Health Innovation Network. It is innovation arm of the NHS, and there are 15 health innovation networks in England. Like I said, help is available on every step in the UK. And then if you're looking to explore opportunities to fund your research study or bring your research study to UK, look for patients, data, opportunities, key opinion leaders. We have something called NIHR. And under NIHR umbrella, I only picked 3 organizations. So if you're working on, let's say, more on the translational side, biomarker discovery, we have something called BRCs or biomedical research centers, again, all across the UK. If you're on the health tech side, we have health tech research centers from diagnostics to medtech, sustainable innovation, brain, heart, multiple condition health. And if you already have run your let's say first in man clinical trial in your own country, but we want to take it in the UK, we have something called NIHR clinical research facilities. These are facilities based within the NHS hospital trusts, and you can run your early phase clinical trials through these facilities, and you get all the support from them. And here I also wanted to mention these facilities are also built in pediatric hospitals. So if you're working in children's health and innovation in, let's say, rare diseases, that there is something available available for you too. And then when I speak with the companies, everyone needs money. And I'm sure you also are interested how to raise funding, how to access local grants. This is all you need to know. The left barcode is the government support available for you. It's like a database. You can play around. You can put your postcode in if you wish to set up in London or Manchester, and it will tell you what kind of governments and local support is available for you to explore. And then we have something called British Business Bank, for example. They also provide loans if this is something that you are after, and then other financial guides for you to explore. And then something really exciting what we have in the UK, we have medical research charities. We call them AMRC. It's like Association of Medical Research Charities, and we have around 150 of them. And it's quite interesting that sometimes you may struggle when you speak with the NHS or other organization if you represent certain therapeutic area that's quite niche. But I'm pretty sure that you will be able to find certain charity that works in your area that can help to lobby your innovation for you. But also this is your opportunity to access patients, pilots within the patient groups. Some of these charities in the UK, they act as VCs, so they also invest in companies if you have really, really good innovation. A little secret to tell you, for some of these charities, you don't even need to be based in the UK to get their support, but you have to have really unique innovation. This is all. I think I exceeded my 5 minutes. It is extremely difficult to tell about the all fantastic opportunities that exist in the UK. I think if my colleagues one day give me hour and a half, we can have much deeper conversation, but I hope it gave you a little bit of flavor that it doesn't matter what therapeutic area you represent. It doesn't matter if you are very early or late stage, there will be someone to help you. And last thing what I wanted to say is that I work very closely with mayoral combined authorities, city councils. And before you commit setting up your UK subsidiary, please shop around, explore opportunities, what London has to offer, what Newcastle has to offer, Wales and Northern Ireland, because don't go for the first yes, but invest some time exploring regional support and help. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And yeah, the idea of the webinar is also to get like a first impression, first insights on the different ecosystems, and then you can always reach out to our speakers to continue, to plan a follow-up call or just continue the discussion. So don't hesitate also to connect with our speakers after the webinar. I will now hand it over. So thank you again. And now I will now hand it over to Paul for the market access part.
That's great. Thank you, Janine. Hello, everyone. I'll just share my screen. So yeah, my name is Paul Riley. I have a life sciences market access consultancy in the UK. DATSA really did a great job of setting the scene for the UK. It really is a terrific place for life science innovators, for people with innovative products to sell and to try and get adopted by society. There are plenty of opportunities clinically, commercially, even regulatory wise for people wanting to come to the UK with products. So yeah, I'll build on what DATSA has said. So just to start with, I should mention the NHS again. DATSA presented it on her slides, but the NHS is such an enormous market. I work with companies from around the world who want to come to the UK, and they always want to find out how to get products adopted by the NHS. It's not the only healthcare system. We have private healthcare as well in the UK, but the NHS is by far the biggest in terms of employment, budgets, everything. But it is perhaps misconceived by people as being one entity. It's been described as being perhaps better described as more of a mindset because it's actually lots of different organisations. So it might have a badge, a common logo, but it's actually 4 devolved nations, the UK, England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and there are many buyers within that. So even at a devolved nation level, there'll still be many customers that you would have to negotiate with. often. That's not the case for everything. There are some centralized decisions, but often it's a case of needing to work with many customers. So in terms of how things are funded, HM Treasury sets the budget and passes it to the NHS, and we're talking hundreds of billions of pounds, and then that gets allocated to the four nations. Then it's at a national level that policy decisions are taken, which will determine how much money is available for your particular drug, device, diagnostic, digital health solution, or other products and services. And in terms of how that then translates into decisions for you commercially, well, it goes further down the chain. So in England, we have integrated care boards. Scotland, there are health boards, same as in Wales, and in Northern Ireland, we have health trusts. And even within those, you'll have hospitals that might decide individually about a particular procurement or purchasing decision. So it's very important for you to appreciate and understand what that local market is going to be looking for before you arrive with a value proposition. It's very difficult for businesses to come with a value proposition from their home market, for instance, and expect it to be readily adopted in the UK. You'll need to demonstrate you've done your homework, you understand the patient pathways, you understand what value means, and you understand the right people to speak with. You need to be talking your customer's language. And in terms of that final step, who will actually transfer the cash to you, who will be your customers, we're talking NHS trust or even hospital level and GP practice level. So it's a long way from centralized down to local and your customers. So there might be one big budget, but it's down at the bottom that decision making occurs. So I've already mentioned about drugs, devices, diagnostics, digital health and services and supplies. The way that these get access to the market in the UK varies. For drugs, it's the most established pathway. So we're talking health technology appraisals, the usual sorts of things you would find in many countries. It's different though for the other categories. Devices will get looked at by NICE, for example, our National Institute, our HTA body, but they don't typically come with cash mandates from NICE, unlike the ones that come for medicines. It's the same with diagnostics and the others. You might get a positive appraisal by NICE for a device, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get funded. And being conscious of time, I'll move on to the next slide. That's important because you need to think about how you're going to translate your technology, the value proposition, into money. And to be able to do that successfully, there are 6 steps. So first of all, you need to think about the category you're selling into and then go and investigate that. Is it a drug, device, diagnostic? Because the environment's very different. You then need to build your NHS context evidence. And by that, I mean, you need to understand when your product lands in a particular pathway, even in a particular hospital, what will that translate into? How much money is it going to cost that particular system, but how much will it save? How much I don't know, how many beds will it free up? How much time will it free up? You need to understand that at a local level, and there's plenty of support to enable you to do that. DATSA has already done a great job of describing some of the publicly funded bodies and other charities and etc. that are available to help you understand how to position your technologies. We now have a front door in the UK. So people have been asking for this for many, many years, but there's now a front door, innovation.nhs UK. You can go there with any technology and you'll get signposted to the right place. It's a terrific arrival that we've been waiting for a long time. And it will connect you with all sorts of different programs that are right for you and your technology. I should also mention the international recognition procedure, which we have in place. So for Canadian drugs, it's 60 days to UK marketing authorization. You also think about who you're going to use as your champion. So where are you going to land and get your product adopted first? Where's your beachhead? And this is where you need to think about who'd be super interested in your technology and want to use their centre as a launchpad for it. They've got the right patients, the right attitude, the right local population. It's important to get that sorted out so you can then launch regionally. And again, you need to think about telling that system value story. Make sure that your product is being talked about in local terms, not Canadian terms. 5 quick messages. So there are 3 separate gates. It's not just a matter of getting regulatory approval and the rest is easy. It's regulatory approval. You then have to think about funding, whether or not the NHS will fund it, but also adoption. And that can be tricky, finding the right person to actually do the legwork to get it adopted. Positive valuations rarely creates buyers outside medicine. So if you can get an HTA, a nice approval, that can be great if you're a drug developer, but it's not the same if you've got a different kind of technology. I think I've laboured the point that UK context evidence wins. It's very difficult for other evidence for other countries to be used to make decisions. And think about procurement, not just regulation and value. So it's a complicated map, but it can be navigated with the right support. And there's plenty of free help. And again, that's what's mentioned that already. So there are three key messages here. The NHS is one funder, but 4 nations, many buyers, with different categories of the different routes. Now, it might seem complicated as well, the UK. I think it's complicated because there's so much information, but in a way that's an advantage. If you're prepared to seek out the right people and do your homework, then it's really clear which pathway is correct. Sometimes people will be frustrated by it being confusing. If you take the time, it's actually not. It's just really actually very helpful. And lastly, make sure that you build that NHS context evidence early, reach out early, understand what it is that you need to do, and then act. And there's a summary there for the when the slide deck comes out. But as Datsa said, I'd be happy as well to speak to people and provide free guidance about who to reach out to, where to go. Feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul, for the very useful input. It was very clear. And yeah, as Paul mentioned, don't hesitate to reach out afterwards. Just a short reminder too that you can already put your question in the chat if you have any, and we can address them at the end. So thank you very much, Dats and Paul, for the UK part. It was very, very interesting. We will now continue with the Quebec part, and Georges will start with the ecosystem overview.
Thank you so much, Janine, and thank you, Paul and Dace, for the lovely presentation from the UK side. Now it's my turn to share the ecosystem in Quebec and some of the similarities that we have like UK. So good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to share my screen, and if you have questions, just put it in the chat and I'll be able to answer the questions at the end of the presentation. Can you see my screen?
Yes, at least I can see your screen.
Okay. So Quebec is a dynamic business environment and the perfect location for life sciences and health and research. It has been built on a solid foundation, and throughout the presentation, I'm going to share some of the components that will make our ecosystem in Quebec and life sciences very unique. So as you can see, we are recognized as a life science and health technology hub in North America. We are the leader in life sciences, and 7 out of the 10 largest biopharmaceutical companies globally are based in Quebec. And to make it visual, I put the logos, at the bottom of the slide. Roche, GSK, Pfizer, Merck, Novartis, AbbVie, and Bristol Myers Squibb have their Canadian head offices in the greater Montreal area. We are pounding above our weight because in Quebec, we represent roughly 20 to 22% of the population, but more than 30% of the life science and health technology jobs in Canada are based in Quebec. So it gives you an indication that we have an ecosystem that really is thriving. Now I'm just giving you an overview of our ecosystem. So you have 3 different components. On the left-hand side, it's the incubator, the critical mass, the number of companies, more than 750 companies in Quebec that touches life science and health technology. We have more than 39,000 direct jobs in life sciences. At the center, I'm sharing with you that we have more than 300 specific research and innovation center. I'm going to touch on that on an upcoming slide. And on the right-hand side, as mentioned on the UK side, funding is very crucial in life sciences. So here we have government support, both from the federal government and from the provincial government, from the Ministry of Economy, Innovation and Energy in Quebec. And on the bottom, I put many of the companies that are operating in the greater Montreal area and in Quebec and even in Sherbrooke. Now to go to the next slides. We talked about, the research center. We have more than 300 within the greater Quebec area. They are based in Montreal, in Quebec, and in Sherbrooke. I put them in therapeutic areas so you can see some of the leading clusters. Oncology, we have Oncopole, cardiovascular, precision medicine is up and running. We are talking a lot about cell and gene therapy, so cellular therapy and regenerative medicine. Big data, we mentioned a lot about data in the UK, so we are working on data also in Quebec. And we have artificial intelligence that's really thriving in the greater Montreal area. And I'm going to talk specifically about Mila later on in an upcoming slide. When we mention the ecosystem, an ecosystem will be thriving if we have very strong research center and university hospital-based research. Here, I'm just sharing with the team some of the major big university hospitals in Quebec. It's the CHUM with the Université de Montréal. We have Saint-Justine for pediatric care. We have McGill University Health Center, CHU de Quebec in Quebec City, and we have the University Hospital in Sherbrooke. And on the right-hand side of the slide, I just tried to summarize everything that touches, pharmaceutical production from early clinical trial, animal study, preclinical. We have many players in Quebec, up to CDMO, which is manufacturing and fill and finish. So we have plenty of players passing through clinical research. We have more than 60 CROs really active in Quebec, and some of them are even coming from the UK. Signature has a big presence in Quebec too. And as I said, if you have any questions, put it in the chat and I'll be able to answer at the end of the presentation. So we have university research, we have clusters, we have, researcher, we have industry, but if we don't have collaboration, nothing will happen for the patient. So collaboration is very key, very important for us in Quebec. And here I wanted to share with you some real life examples of collaboration between research center, industry, and university hospitals. The first one is an example of collaboration on biomarkers between Roche Pharmaceutical, CQDM, a local support organization, and two major hospitals in Quebec, McGill and the General Jewish Hospital. And based on that collaboration, they were able to present a project and move forward with a project on biomarker for chronic kidney disease. And as you know, this is like a rare disease that is unmet need. Another example is GSK with Catalyst and the Jewish Hospital. And Catalyst is our provincial institute for advancing and accelerating clinical research. So you don't need to be like a Quebec-based company to be partnered with Catalyst. You can be from outside the province or the country, and you become member with Catalyst, and they will help you to accelerate, approval. You can get your first patient in weeks instead of waiting for months. And there is another example with the Fonds de Recherche du Québec avec Novo Nordisk. An overview of our cluster and ecosystem. It's a big slide, but I wanted you to see that we have cluster organizations supporting our ecosystem, and our major partner are there. If you can see support for industrial research, it's there, and then you can see even BIOQuébec is available as one of our partner. On the right-hand side, you have active funds in the life sciences, and here I put some combination of private and public funds available specifically for the life sciences. And we have also plenty of incubator accelerator. Recently, we were able to add one major incubator accelerator to our ecosystem. It's the Merck Digital Science Studio that opened an incubator accelerator in Montreal. And now it's becoming the North American hub for Merck Digital Science Studio to do incubator and accelerator out of Montreal for Canadian and even for US biotech and startup. I talked a bit about artificial intelligence and data. This is something very important for drug discovery, for collaboration, etc. And we are lucky in Montreal because we are the home of MILA, and MILA is the Montreal Institute of Learning Algorithm. So in English term, it's our Quebec Institute of Artificial Intelligence. It's one of the largest academic AR research lab in the world, with more than 1,200 researchers, with postdoc, with researcher, and it's agnostic. They can work with multiple research centers and multiple university hospitals in Quebec. And I put some of the companies that are partnered with Mila, and see AstraZeneca, Roche, Merck, Amgen, and Genentech. And like Catalyst, you don't have to be based in Quebec to become partnered with Mila. Some of those companies that Canadian head office is outside of Quebec, it's in Ontario, but they decided to become partner with Mila to get advantage of the artificial intelligence capability they have. Another element I'm going to talk about is the highly skilled talent of pool, because if you don't have enough talent within a specific city, you cannot operate. So here I share the slide every time I go to Bio, and last time I shared it in Boston. Montreal is beating Toronto, Boston, New York, and Vancouver. We are the #1 student city in the Americas. And on the map, you can see all the universities that are really active in Quebec. You have multiple universities with plenty of degrees that touches life science, biomedical, masters, and biology and biochemistry, etc. So this will give you an overview of what exists in our life sciences. And then we need to talk a bit about competitive operating costs. The UK mentioned some of the benefit advantages, and here I'm going to share with you some of the comparative data. Whenever you're going to pick Montreal, what will be the advantage? I picked one example for Medtech, and you can see comparison between Montreal, Orlando, and Indianapolis. So the annual salaries, they are average based on US Canadian dollar. So Montreal is very attractive, very competitive comparing to Orlando and Indianapolis. Another example I can share with you within the biopharma, we picked Boston, Seattle, Toronto, and Montreal. And here also you can see that we have a greater advantage based on the salary. And in general, salaries are a bit less based on absolute value compared to the US. And also because we have the advantage of the exchange rate. So the Canadian dollar is cheaper than the US dollar. So it's much easier to have an operation in Montreal and then export to the US. My next slide is I'm just summarizing all the competitive incentives, the tailored government program support. It's a summary of everything that exists. I wanted to highlight specifically the tax credit for research, innovation, and commercialization. It's a new credit that the Quebec government launched recently. And for the first time, it's touching, the section of pre-commercialization whenever it comes to equipment and other expenses and capex related to that. And in summary, just to tell you why you need to pick, Quebec as your launch point in North America. It's a strategic location. We are very close to New York, to Boston, to Toronto, 1 hour, 10 minutes by plane. Thriving ecosystem, more than 300 research center, pool of highly qualified talent. As I mentioned, more than 750 companies, more than 85,000 workers and researchers in Quebec. Competitive cost. There is an additional advantage with the low electricity rate, and we have hydroelectricity, so it's a green energy, it's a renewable energy, and many companies are looking to have that. And then it's stable economical and political environment. So thank you so much for your time. And as I said, if you have any questions, let me know and I'll answer it within the chats. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Josh, for this valuable insights. Very appreciated. Now we move on to Catherine. We're just running a bit behind in the agenda. I also want to make sure that Romain can present his success story of Signature today. But I know that you're very efficient, Catherine, so I'm not worried. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you, Janine. Just a minute. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Hi everyone. My name is Catherine Beauchemin, and as Janine mentioned earlier, I'm a partner at Perifarm, a consulting company that specializes in the market access of health innovations in Canada. So I have over 18 years of experience in consulting, and in parallel, I also serve as an adjunct professor at the University of Montreal. So I'm very pleased to be here today to present an overview of the regulatory and market access landscape in Canada. And I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end. So for the agenda, I will begin by presenting the regulatory and market access landscape for drugs in Canada, along with the key stakeholders involved in the approval and reimbursement process. I will then provide a brief overview of the health technology assessment and the key components supporting healthcare decision-making. Next, I will discuss a few considerations for medical devices and conclude with a brief summary. So here's an overview of the key stakeholders involved in the approval and reimbursement of new products in Canada. First, Health Canada is responsible for the regulatory approval of new drugs and health innovations. It evaluates the safety and efficacy of products, and when these criteria are met, it issues a notice of compliance, which authorizes a manufacturer to market the product in Canada. In parallel, the PMPRB, which is the Patented Medicine Prices Review Board, is responsible for setting the maximum price for patented products in Canada. Then on the public side, which is represented by the the blue arrows here, the health technology assessment process begins. So in Canada, two main agencies are responsible for conducting HTA, so Health Technology Assessment. It's the Institut National d'Excellence en Santé et en Services Sociaux in Quebec, and the Canadian Drug Agency, the CDA, in Canada, so for the rest of Canada. Both INES and CDA issue recommendations regarding the reimbursement of new products. These recommendations can be positive, negative, or positive with conditions. And among the conditions, price reductions are frequently included. So following the HTA recommendations, the PCPA, which is the Pan-Canadian Pharmaceutical Alliance, is responsible for conducting national price negotiations with manufacturers on behalf of participating jurisdictions. When pricing negotiations between the manufacturer and the PCPA are successfully concluded, each province and territory independently decides whether to list or not the new product on its formulary. So it is possible to observe some discrepancies in product reimbursement across the Canadian provinces. In parallel, on the private sector side, which is represented by the orange arrows, and the private sector accounts for approximately 40% of national prescription drug expenditures. The private payers conduct the clinical and economic assessments, and they directly negotiate with the manufacturers. Finally, to provide an estimate of the average time from approval to patient access, delays have been reported at 736 days for the public payers, compared with 226 days for the private payers. So each stakeholder involved in the approval and reimbursement process has distinct responsibilities and addresses different decision-making questions. For instance, Health Canada focuses on whether a new drug is safe and effective, asking, is it safe and does it work? So for Health Canada, a clinical trial comparing a new drug or product to placebo may be sufficient to address the regulatory questions. CDA and INES, the HTA agencies in Canada, are primarily concerned with comparative value. So asking how does it compare with existing treatment options? And does it offer good therapeutic value and economic value too? Finally, provinces and territory, which make the ultimate reimbursement decisions, consider broader system-level questions such as, is it needed and can we afford it? So here, I will briefly describe the key components typically required by payers to assess the therapeutic and economic value of a product. So for the clinical value, a clinical summary is usually provided to outline the current treatment landscape, the existing therapeutic options, the unmet needs, and the proposed place in therapy for the new product. In addition, a systematic literature review and, when it's applicable, an indirect treatment comparison are often included to demonstrate the comparative efficacy and safety of the new drug versus the current standard of care. For the economic value and economic evaluation, most commonly the cost utility analysis, which is the cost per QALY, or a cost minimization analysis, is submitted to assess the cost effectiveness of the new drug compared with existing treatment options. A budget impact analysis is also typically included to estimate the financial implications of adopting a new intervention within a given healthcare system or a payer perspective. For the medical device space, the regulatory and market access landscape slightly differs from that of pharmaceuticals. Health Canada is also responsible for the regulatory approval of a medical device. As for the market access, reimbursement decisions for medical devices in Canada are highly decentralized. Most decisions are made at the hospital level. So while HTA agencies such as UNICE and CDA may evaluate new technologies, these assessments are mostly used as guidance, and individual hospitals ultimately make their own decisions regarding the adoption of a technology. Decision-making in the hospital setting is generally more informal, with expert opinion and professional networks having a strong influence on the decision to reimburse or not a technology. So in conclusion, the regulatory and market access landscape for drugs and medical devices in Canada is continuously evolving. Health technology assessments are the cornerstone to inform decision-making, and they rely on robust and comprehensive evidence. So despite the complexity of the Canadian environment, the system continues to evolve toward greater transparency and innovative reimbursement pathways, which ultimately aims to improve timely patient access to effective innovations. So thank you, everybody, and I'll be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for the valuable insights on market access here in Quebec, or in Canada in general. So I will now hand it over to our last speaker, Romain Laporte from Signature Discovery, who will present Signature's success story here in Quebec.
So hello, everyone. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So I'm Romain Laporte, Marketing and Global Event Manager at Signature Discovery, and I'm pleased to give you a few bites about the success story for Global CRO shared by the Quebec expertise. As you will see, I will start to explain that. Everything started in Canada by the foundation of NewChem Therapeutics that soon evolved to NewChem Sciences, and then to a leading CRO in North America across some acquisition. And in the meantime, in the UK, you have a very similar story with Signature Discovery, founded a bit earlier, then through merger and acquisition, the last one being the acquisition of NewChem Sciences. It became the company it is now. So a global footprint and strategic position across the Atlantic. So basically what we do at Signature is providing research and development services at preclinical stages of the drug discovery process, starting from target ID and validation to candidate selections. We have a significant team of 900 plus scientists with a level of PhD above 70%, which is a strong differentiator in the CRO market. So that's how we are distributed. So how we divide the scope of the work, basically we try to speak the language of our customers. So based on therapeutic area they are working and invested in, the modalities they are targeting or using, and the discipline they may require to support their programs. So the idea is to focus on the co-location of our services, because what we do in Canada and what we do in the UK is a kind of duplication. So we have all the services under the same roof. So basically the chemist made the molecule, the biologist is making some testing, and then we can quickly move to pharmacological analysis, in vivo pharmacology models, everything at the same place. So we try to just turn the DMTA cycle faster. The reason to believe for our customer is, the main one is we don't have any internal pipeline at Signature. Our success is clearly measured on our partner success. Obviously, for confidentiality, I can't tell with who we are working, but from the slide I have seen from the other presenter, I know that everybody knows the top pharma and top biotech players are well represented in Quebec, and as we are working both sides of the Atlantic, you can imagine who are our customers. The numbers you can see here are only linked to the patent that these customers have accepted to mention us on as inventor. Obviously, there are many other works, but these are the ones that are official and clearly identify as the co-development for drugs, and 2 are now on the market. So that's something we are very proud of at Signature. So I will keep it short, and this is just explaining how we push things beyond boundaries at Signature. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Romain. It's always great also to see like a concrete example of a company that had a success here in Quebec, or it's the same also from Quebec companies in the UK. So thank you so much. We have now 5 minutes left. Are there any questions? Just to remind you, you will also receive the recorded presentations and the contact of our speakers, as well as the presentation. So if you just want to take a minute after the webinar to go over it, that will be possible. Was everything clear? There's Georges who wants to add something.
Yeah, Janine, if nobody had the question, I had a question to Romain. I really like, the example, NewChem, the synergy with Signature. Can you give us specific reason why Signature picked NewChem in Quebec? And what are the synergies that happened after, both companies became one?
That's an interesting question. I think the reality is what Signature was doing in the UK and in Europe was exactly what NewChem was doing in North America. And Signature tried a couple of times to land on the US market, but without the success expected. So it's a small world, so decision makers are talking the one to the other. So the idea was, are we staying competitors, or can we do things together? Because NewChem seems to have the expertise in the North American market, while Signature was clearly dominant in the UK and European one, where we had the eyes from Canada. So then it's all about the decision. So it was decided to do things together, and in merger and acquisition, it's always the bigger that is acquiring the smaller. So as the 2/3 of the company in terms of the workforce is in the UK, Signature acquired NewChem, but it's more like a synergy than an acquisition. So it's something that is happening pretty well, and it's delivering some unexpected advantages.
Thank you so much, Romain. Very, very interesting. So if there are not any other questions, I will take a moment to thank everyone for their participation today, the speakers also for their insights, and also we are at BIOQuébec as the trade association for the life science and health technology industry here in Quebec. We're also very open. If you have any questions about Quebec, the industry, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you also to the UK Department for Business and Trade, Alexandre Des, for the joint organization of the webinar today. Yeah, Alexandre, if you want to maybe just say last.
Indeed. Thank you, Janine and Noémie, for organizing all this at BIOQuébec. It's been a great pleasure listening to all the presentations, and we're always constantly learning, and I'm realizing, oh yes, as I think as Paul put it very well, is that there might be a wealth of information, But once you have that at your disposal, it becomes very easy. And myself here in Montreal, I'm very happy to help any companies that are looking to understand how to enter the UK market. I know my colleague Dace feels the same. I know Georges and Catherine feel the same in terms of any UK partners who are looking to come into Quebec. One of my colleagues as well, based in Montreal, handles UK to Quebec pipeline. So if any questions about that, please reach out to me as well. I'll put you in touch with her. Otherwise, thank you everyone again for joining.
Thank you so much for joining, everyone, and we will reach out to you with the link for the recording and also the different slides. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. And Paul and Dace, enjoy your lunch and the rest of your day. Take care.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you. Thank you. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.